The rear wheels on this Ariens Razor mower like to lock up when backing up, making it difficult to pull back. Here's what's happening. When I push down on the reflex, the transmission tips up, engaging the belt, spinning the pulley, and making the wheels spin forward. All cool, except the problem starts here. When you release the reflex, the transmission has no retraction spring to pull it back down, and therefore it gets stuck somewhere here in the middle. This causes the belt to not fully disengage. And then you get this fight between the mower wanting to go forward and you wanting to pull it back. How do we fix this? Well, this is Ariens' solution. Hey guys and gals, welcome to Garage Gear. I'm JB, and not too long ago I did a full review of this Ariens Razor mower, going over its positives and a lot of its negatives in hopes that Ariens would make some much needed changes. Good news, Ariens came through. I actually had a Zoom meeting with them as well as their blade manufacturer, Fisher-Barton. More on all that later. But Ariens said, hey, we're gonna send you a reversing anti-lockup kit for your Ariens Razor mower, and we want you to try it out. So let's go. First step, you guessed it, we're pulling the spark plug to prevent any unwanted startups. Next, we're going to be draining out all the fuel because we're going to be tipping this mower over on its side, and any fuel inside the tank would most likely leak out. So get it all out, and as far as final preparations go, we're going to remove the grass bag and fold the handlebars down all the way. We're also gonna put down some cardboard so we don't bang up the deck. First order of business, we're gonna tip the mower onto its right side. Next, we're gonna block the blade, and using a 14mm socket, we're gonna remove the blade bolts. And off they come. Then we're gonna remove this retaining belt guard. It kind of looks like a cooking pan. Let's get it off. We have a 3/8 bolt up here, and a 3/8 bolt down here. Off it comes. Notice there's some metal guide pins in here. We're gonna talk more about those later. Let's flip some pancakes. And then we're sliding off this blade adapter with a pulley on it. There we go. Just like that. Stop. Now here's a step that Ariens didn't mention, but I recommend that you do. Grab yourself a Sharpie, and you're gonna come over here to your cable that connects up to your reflex. You're gonna follow it down to this little coupler here on your handlebar. On both sides of that, take your Sharpie and color it in just like that. We're doing this because if we need to reset anything, we know where we left off. And once it's marked, you're gonna unhook this cable. And out it comes. And help prevent this video from getting disconnected with the YouTube algorithm, would you mind hitting that like button? Thank you very much. Next, we're gonna remove the retaining bolts holding in this whole drive assembly. And we have 6 of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3/8 socket, and they're coming out. Out comes our bracket. Once those 6 bolts are out, we should be able to pull this whole assembly forward and disconnect our drive cable up here that connects to our reflex system. You're coming with me, pal. We're gonna disconnect that cable to our reflex. Just like that. From here, we're gonna loosen our height adjuster on the bottom side and the back wheel. And we're just gonna pull this whole assembly right out. Just like that. We're gonna set this guy down right here. Doesn't this look like Axel from Twisted Metal 2? And then what do we have here? We have 3 torque screws. These are T25s. We're gonna take these out with our screwdriver. There's 1, there's 2, and 3. And off comes our belt guide, as well as our belt. So take a look at this. This is the old belt bracket. This is the new one. See some differences? Look at that. So what they actually did was, if I cover these up on top of each other, if I take the new one and place it over, it looks like they actually widened it out. Looks like by almost 1/4 of an inch here, as well as added these wide gaping holes on the sides for the belt to expand out. This one doesn't have it, and it kind of traps that belt in place. Plus it's a little narrower, so it makes it a really tight space. This one's got these spaces here on the side, plus a wider gap overall to allow that belt to get out of the way. Now this old belt is in great shape still. It's got no issues with it whatsoever, but they did send us a brand new belt with the kit, so we're gonna pop this guy on. Sometimes the simplest fixes are the best. Hey, necessity is the mother of invention, right? Or modification in this situation. Let's put this new bracket and belt in place. Okay, new belt going on. New bracket going over that. We're gonna reinstall our torque screws. Good. All right, and done. That new bracket is ready to go. You can already see the belt sticking out the sides, which is a good thing. Now from here, we're gonna tip our wheel and transmission assembly back into place. Make sure everything lines up, including these couplers here down at the bottom. And then we're just gonna push it right back where it was. We're gonna reconnect our drive cable to the new bracket. We're gonna feed the belt into what's known as the cutting chamber. Boom, boom, boom. In she goes, and we're gonna push her all the way in. There's the bottom and the top. Bottom's all set, and the top has this little wiggle to it. You see this? That's because the whole rest of the mower is top heavy, and it wants to tip downward like this. So without breaking anything, I'm just gonna pull out my good old car jack, and that'll hold it up a little bit. And this guy can move into position better. So now what I gotta do is reinstall my bracket, and this is where having another set of hands might be handy. I'm gonna reinstall my screws, and these are plastic screws. You do not wanna send them back in with a driver. You wanna send these in with a ratchet because we're gonna torque them down later. Now, in order to get those screws fully locked down, we're gonna need a torque wrench that is in pound inches. The Ariens manual asks us to set this to 25 pound inches. We're gonna lock it down. Let's go tighten it. We're gonna snap all these into place. Hold up. Now, according to the manual, it said to torque down all these 6 bolts to 25 pound inches. Now, I have the correct torque wrench here, and I already just started on 1 bolt, torquing it down to that specification. But we have a problem. As I crank this down, 25 pound inches just seems like too much. I'm tightening, and my torque wrench ain't clicking. And I noticed when I back the screw out, it's actually warping the plastic. Look at that. That was a straight tube before, now it's all smushed. That ain't right. Ariens, you gotta check your torque specs on this. So we're just gonna snug all these bolts down and leave it at that. And good. All 6 of those bolts are now fully installed and ready to go. We're gonna slide our belt over our drive shaft now. From here, before I install our blade mount and pulley, I'm gonna hit this with a little bit of anti-seize because it's already corroding here. We're just gonna take a little bit and dab it on. Warning, anti-seize is very messy. It's gonna get all over you no matter what, so just be careful. A little bit is all we need here. We don't need much. Put this away before it destroys your clothes. See, I already got it on me. Now inside this blade mount, we have a keyway. You can see it there, and we have a keyway slot. We gotta line these 2 up and slide it on. There we go. Get that belt into place, and on she goes. And then earlier I mentioned that we have these 2 pins inside our belt guide, so what we'll have to do is pinch down our belt like this, and then reinstall our cover. Make sure everything lines up. You might have to feel behind it. This is not the easiest of jobs. Okay, and if you pull your belt guide a little forward, that might help you out. I can feel the pin, I can feel the belt. We are inside those pins. I'm gonna loosely install these screws, snug them down. And the manual calls for a 25 pound-inch torque on these screws. Again, that seems too tight. I'm squishing the plastic. We're just gonna snug this down by hand. That's good, and good. Ariens, I think we gotta check those numbers. Okay, let's get that blade on. We're gonna get all our screws in first. We'll tip the mower back down here. If you look here, I have to reinstall this hook onto my reflex, but it won't reach. So that means I gotta loosen up my bolt here. Remember, I marked it, so we're just gonna loosen it up. Okay, I can pull it through now, slide it through. Now I can rehook it on. Good. I'm just gonna pull this back a little bit and snug it up just a little. So now this is an important step. We're gonna reset the cable tension so that way we get this reflex just right. Now, according to the Ariens manual, you see this plastic panel that comes down here. The manual recommends that we take our thumb and push this down to the point where we actually touch this little triangular piece right here on the reflex. And to give you a closer look, it's right here. So you might want to lean in for this one. I'm going to show you something here. If I push down on this, I'm pushing pretty hard, and this cable is still not touching that corner piece of the reflex. So what I need to do is come over to here, loosen it up a little bit, give myself some slack, push down, and I'm almost there. Maybe just one more thread through. That should do. Let's see now. Yep, I'm touching it. That's it. So now what I'm going to do is tighten this right here. Good, that should do. I can see my cable still slides right here. We're good. Now, if your reflex is moving too fast or too slow, or maybe you just pick the unit up and the wheels are automatically spinning, all those things are not good. So what you gotta do is you gotta correct the cable tension here. You're just gonna repeat that process, sliding the cable up 1 thread or down 1 thread at a time to make sure you get it just right. You may have to do this procedure a couple of times to get it where you need it. Let's fold our handlebars back now. Life is good. Let's reinstall the spark plug. Well, now the belt and the new bracket are officially on that transmission, and I want to see if this mower is going to continue having issues backing up. So if you're ready, I'm ready, let's go mow. All right, let's give it its first test. Let's see how she does. Oh, we need gas. There we go. We should start now. Well, they're not spinning when I lift it up, so that's a good sign. Ah. Okay. It's feeling nice and loose on the way back so far. Much better than what it has been. Good. How about now? Okay. Let's go mow and see how she does. So, did the new bracket do its job and prevent the mower from having issues backing up? Yes, and after mowing my entire 10,000 square foot yard, I can confidently say that the mower did not have even one single instance of a single backup issue. I put some pressure on it too. Just for giggles, I mowed my entire front parkway, which is roughly about 800 square feet, backwards. Yes, you heard that right. I pulled that mower backwards for that entire section of my lawn, and not one single issue to report. Other than your lines being crooked? Yeah, but still no issues backing up. I also did the dreaded push-pull method with the mower many times under some trees, around my mailbox, and some other areas of my lawn, and not a single issue to report there either. Ariens, it is safe to say that this fix has Ariens, it is safe to say that this fix has successfully solved this backup issue. Hallelujah. This is a big step forward for this mower considering how bad this issue was when I dealt with it in the spring. So big win for Ariens here with this mower. They needed that. Now here's what I like about Ariens, and I've heard this from multiple shops in my area. Ariens tackles their problems head on. They don't just let things fester and get out of hand like some other brands. And when I called out the problems on this Ariens razor, about 2 weeks later, Ariens reached out, which I thought was pretty admirable of them. I've called out a lot of companies here on Garage Gear, and so far Ariens is the only one that reached back out and said, hey, what can we do to make the user experience better? So pretty cool. And a few weeks ago, I had a Zoom meeting with their blade manufacturer, Fisher Barton, and we got into some deep detail on their blade design, which was pretty innovative, and I learned a lot from them. Then I got on a Zoom meeting with Ariens, and they had a lot of questions about the razor. Why I chose this specific model, likes versus dislikes. I gave them my full homeowner's perspective, as well as the path I think they should take with this mower. They then said they're working on a few improvements for this mower, the belt bracket being one of them. So Ariens is working to make this mower better, which is great to see. They were actually really cool, and right in the middle of our conversation, they were like, hey, what's the story with the 1971 Ariens Snow Throw? And I told them, hey, you guys stay tuned this summer. If you're interested in more information about this Ariens razor, check out my video links down below in the description. For more cool Garage Gear content, click or tap the screen right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the garage.